All right, everyone. So I have a PowerPoint because I admittedly thought I needed one, but I think I got confused with another assignment. So hopefully everything gets done. Um, all right. So family systems assignment. I had Nico. So here's by the way, can everyone see everything? Okay. Okay. Um, and Nico had just a few sentences. Nico is Elena's younger brother. He's 8 years old. He's acting out at school and he's having some attention-seeking behaviors. Something I do want to establish because Nico is not mentioned very much is that Nico is not the identified patient as much as Elena is. So, in beginning the treatment, I would want to establish that the family is indeed interested in like diverting some energy towards Nico and his behaviors and all that good stuff. So, these are some stock images of 8-year-olds. And I wanted to insert these photos because it's sort of easy to say, like, oh, I understand what an 8-year-old is and like how young they are, but they're very young, they're just like I wanted to think about how young Nico was. So, 8-year-olds are increasing social awareness, but they have limited emotional language. They have egocentric interpretations of family stress. They are reliant on external regulation from school and parents, and they have high sensitivity to shifts in parental attention. So, for our purposes, this is Nico. Um, So my case conceptualization right now is that attention is being taken away from Nico and he's acting out at school and having these attention-seeking behaviors at home. And these kinds of behaviors are common forms of protest behaviors, which are unconscious, often destructive actions driven by emotional distress, usually to gain attention or reassurance from the caregiver. And so, because Nico has been in a consistently stressed family system, he's anxious about his attachment to his parents and needs more positive quality interactions with them. He needs to feel secure in his relationship, and he needs just a little bit more, you know, fun and joy in the family. So, my objective is to facilitate a more secure familial environment for Nico. And one of the main methods that I want to do that by is by kind of having the parents facilitate that secure environment. So the intervention is based around this book, Reflective Parenting by Cooper and Redfern. It was developed by the Anna Freud Center in the UK. It's based in mentalization-based treatment, which was developed in the 80s, which is sort of like a psychodynamic therapy that was made to be able to be researched pretty much because that's a difficulty with those kinds of therapies is that they can't be researched very well. Um, this is actually used by Harvard in their personality disorder clinic. And so you might say, what does an 8-year-old and somebody with a personality disorder have in common? And really, the way that it's conceptualized is that people with personality disorders all have insecure attachments in some form, but not all insecure attachments will lead to personality disorders. That's sort of how it's thought of. So the main desire of this treatment is the transmission of secure attachment patterns across the generations and how this could be mediated by the extent to which parents are able to think about the thoughts, feelings, beliefs, wishes, and desires in their child's mind as they respond to their child's actions. So other tenets include that behavior is communication, not defiance. The parent's role is to interpret internal states, not just manage actions. Emotional meaning precedes behavioral intervention. And then kind of comparing the questions of what is the child feeling versus how do we stop this? So to sort of demonstrate this, I'll try to get through this quickly, but essentially, there's a vignette from the book, and In the first paragraph, the mother is kind of contending with a difficult situation. She's trying to get her kids ready for school, and she's threatening her child, trying to bribe the child with treats, uh, trying to ignore the behavior as well, but then kind of trying to switch gears and find a way to praise her child, all to stop difficult behaviors. Um, so these can be considered strategies, manipulations, and reactions from being absorbed in their own experience. How is it affecting them? With the attitude of how do we stop this, as opposed to in the second paragraph, the father takes a different approach, where he takes Charlie, the difficult child, to one side and asks, "What's going on today? You know, why do things seem so difficult this morning? Are you anxious about going to school after such a long time off?" And this is kind of done in the spirit of attunement and appreciation of the child as a complicated, separate person, done in the spirit of the question, what is the child feeling? So these are sort of the two like attitudes that we look that are looked for in this intervention. So connecting this back to Nico, Nico is again acting out in school and having attention-seeking behaviors at home. So we might ask this question, you know, what is the child feeling? Um, so I kind of thought, you know, probably feeling confusion about Lena's behavior, fear or insecurity about family stability, perceived loss of attention or importance, and anxiety expressed through disruptive behavior. And anxiety is going to be like kind of how we mainly characterize the acting out at school and the attention-seeking behaviors at school, at home, sorry. And then so far we've established um, mentalization-based treatment wants to secure attachment relationships, and that these behaviors are done out of anxiety, which leads us to the intervention. So what do you actually do? Um, The actionable interventions are described in the book are the emotional thermometer and the parental APP, which stands for attention, perspective taking, and providing empathy. So the first intervention we have is the emotional thermometer. And the emotional thermometer establishes that parenting is difficult and triggering, especially if you've never received ideal parenting yourself. It's kind of hard to provide ideal parenting. You can't give what you didn't get. So especially in times of stress, we want to, you know, foster self-awareness. So the second tenet is we should interact with our children when we are mostly regulated and then assess ourselves in times of stress. So we don't want to be sort of we don't want to strike when the iron is hot. We want to kind of be lukewarm or just not very activated. And then there's sort of this other thermometer of the brain of like, you know, are we in fight or flight? Where can we kind of engage with more details of the situation than just our emotions? Um, and yeah, something to think about is like an inappropriate response from us will trigger more anxiety in Miko and likely lead to more acting out behavior. Number three, it's important to reflect on how we come across from the outside. This is another little snippet from the book, but it's essentially saying that um, a child might do something wrong, and then we have a negative reaction to it, thinking that they should know what to do. But really, all they can see is our upsetness at them and not really understand that why we're upset at them or why what they did was wrong. It's more about a scowl, the scowl that is described in this little piece here. So let's think about a scowl. Scowl's difficult. Directing it at Nico, doesn't know what he's doing, and then kind of leading to more disruptive behavior, anxiety. So yes, the fourth tenet is to remember that your child is just a child with a separate and totally different set of thoughts and feelings um, from you, which represent both his age and the things going on in his life. So let's say you're the parent in this situation with Nico, and you assess yourself to be at a good spot on the emotional thermometer to interact with this child. You're ready to do it. Um, what are you going to focus on when you interact with this kid? So that's where the second intervention comes in, which is the parent APP, which is attention, perspective taking, and providing empathy. And that kind of brings us back to these two questions, what is the child feeling and how do we stop this? Kind of thinking about um, Nico and how we might intervene not in a way that wants to stop the behavior, but wants to sympathize with him. So here are his emotions that we kind of came up with before. And here's how we could implement this. So providing attention would be potentially giving more time to Nico, allowing Nico to lead a conversation or playtime. Perspective taking would be sort of asking Nico, I wonder if it's hard to understand why Elena is hitting herself, just trying to get his perspective on something. And then providing empathy. It must feel really lonely and a bit scary when we are so busy worrying about Elena. I bet you're angry that everything feels so messy right now. So really just trying to be on the same plane, like the same emotional plane as Nico and getting at that. So yes, we have the goal, conceptualization, and intervention of for Nico. That's the micro one. And then meso is a school-based intervention, which would be two-pronged approach of in-class regulation and then positive attention. Um, so the school-based intervention is that Nico may become triggered by the school environment or the separation from his parents. So the idea was just to have should the teacher notice that Nico is becoming activated in class, maybe do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is like a group exercise, which is sort of like a DBT skill, touching base with the senses and just kind of distracting him for a little bit. Um, or also just collaborating with Nico to find a coping skill that works best for him in the moment. The second school-based intervention would be positive attention via school notes. We kind of want to bring that APP with us of giving attention. And part of that could be to have the teacher sit down with Nico or, somebody if needed and read a note from his parents and just kind of remind him that, parents feel uh, positively about you. Your parents feel positively about you, and they want to form that connection. As far as macro intervention, I was thinking about the family finances. It didn't say anything about their family finances being rough or anything like that, but we do know that money is a difficult topic and that the more stress that there is on the family, the worse off we are. So I just kind of found 6 different studies related to family health and money. So couples who argue about money are 3 times more likely to divorce. Financial strain is linked to increased conflict between co-parents and reduced parenting cooperation. Over 60% of middle-class families report financial strain associated with higher parent-child and interparental conflict. Youth in financially stressed households show higher aggression and behavior problems due to family conflict. Financial hardship increases parental stress, predicting worse mental health outcomes. And then if they were in the Buffalo area, I would refer them to Parachute, which provides free credit counseling and budgeting services. Finally, what is established? So micro intervention would be mentalization-based treatment with skills such as the emotional thermometer and the parental APP, the mezzo school-based interventions of in-class emotional regulation and positive attention via school notes, and then the macro intervention via budgeting and financial counseling. And that's all I got.
I loved it. I love the PowerPoint and all three, your macro, meso, micro breakdown. And I like that you started it by like reminding everyone like an 8-year-old's perspective. Because I think a lot of times when adults are stressed, they forget that their child's brain is different.
Yes.
And like talking about how from an 8-year-old's perspective, they're going to be egocentric. What am I doing wrong? Why are they not focusing on me? So I
Mhm.
like the awareness to that. And I like the recommendation to the book as well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was so interesting to me as like again coming from like my interests and stuff like that was like right up my alley. Um
Awesome.
it's interesting like again like being a nanny like I'm using these techniques and I just don't have a name for them. And so
Mhm.
like seeing the research behind it and like that's just so interesting to me and like very well like suited towards Nico. So I loved it. I thought it was really good.
Thank you so much. I thought you might like it.
I loved it.
Good, 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 good. I'm so glad.
It's given me because I don't know anything about school social work, and so it like was giving me a better perspective of like not school social work, but like child social work. I don't work
Oh,
with
okay.
children, so like the child perspective is good.
Right. I don't even know if like those school interventions are feasible. I just was just like, maybe a teacher
I
would
didn't
be
mean
down to
school,
do
I meant
this, you know?
child.
Yeah,
The
I got you.
note that was the note like in the lunchbox or something like that was something that was like oh my gosh that's like so smart for like those purposes like I never would have even like conceptualized of that and I will 100% use that in the future so
Oh,
thanks.
thank you. Cool, cool, cool. Awesome. Thank you so
I
much.
liked your the the difference between like what was written in orange and what was written in blue about and like how like kind of doing like kind of surface level, all right, I'll give you like a candy if you like be quiet or stop doing that, or like kind of the carrot and the stick sometimes works. At the same time, if you want to like really get to what's going on, like kind of just talking to them on like an individual level, and that like it said in the story, it's like the child like their tenseness decreased and they were actually able to like be forward. And that's part of the attention piece is like giving them attention. Because if you're just like, stop it, we're focusing on your sister, stop doing that, that's just gonna keep on going. All right, I'll keep doing it because you're not giving me the attention I need. So I liked the difference between that and even like the using the direct text was good. Um,
Cool.
would you talk like hypothetically, would you talk about this book with the parents? I'm guessing.
I think, yeah, I think that a lot. That's something I've just been thinking about personally more often. It's just like how much of therapy is psychoeducation and like how can somebody be with you on a particular concept if they don't know what it is. Like you can
Hmm.
guide them in a particular way and you can ask them lots of questions, but like, I don't know,
Yeah.
you can't not.
I felt
So
like I
yes, I
was
think
being
so.
psychoeducated throughout this PowerPoint.
Yeah,
Good. Cool.
I'm curious I'm assuming that this is kind of how you envisioned it but again because my brain is just like I'm a picture person so I'm just curious like are you thinking of these sessions for Nico being with Nico and his parents?
That's a great question. I think that would like develop with time.
Mm,
It's hard to say. Like, I think this would be like the the approach is the goal in a way, and like hoping that
okay.
they're on board.
Okay.
Um, but maybe it would be helpful to have some sessions where Nico's in there and you're like facilitating communication, or like I'm
Yeah.
modeling how to talk to Nico about his feelings. Just like whatever drives the point home. I think that's kind of the
Yeah, no, I just because I was thinking a lot of I guess specifically like the micro intervention doesn't like involve like the parents needing to kind of be in on that, you know, like you can't just like tell all this to Nico and be like, run with it, man. Like, I feel like that's kind of something that like the parents would need. So, are you like, I was just curious if you were picturing like like parent sessions or like parent and Nico or like I don't know, just like how it would be split up, I guess. I was just didn't know like how you were picturing it.
It would be primarily parent. It would be
Okay.
primarily parent. And also thinking about like a big part of the book that I had to leave out was just like how much of this is sort of parents being triggered by their own
Yep.
childhood and stuff like that. And like I said, like you can't give what you didn't get. So like that
Hmm.
self-awareness of like the difference between what your experience was and like what would have been ideal, and like that is helpful in their parenting. So it's like
Yeah.
self-compassion almost.
Hmm.
So yeah, a lot of like work with the parents and
Okay.
self-knowledge and even
That makes sense.
individual sort of stuff.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that I think that like that makes a lot of sense in the context of Nico because he is so young and like a
Mhm.
lot of like you can do play therapy and you can do for like I don't know kids with like trauma you can do EMDR and you can do a lot of stuff like that that's individual but like for this scenario like I do feel that like the way that you conceptualized it is pretty much how it would be like how it would benefit the family and Nico because it is a lot to do like he's reactionary to his environment right now so like the environment is what needs help kind of supporting him so I that was just me walking through the conceptualization but I like that conceptualization.
Thank you. Cool. Yes, totally. All
But
right.
yeah
Thank you all so much for your feedback. I really appreciate it. Pleasure.
Great job.
Okay. All right. Let me figure.
this was oh did you
Wait 1 second. I have to figure out how to end this.
Leah.
Do
no
I?
I was just gonna say one more comment that was not